Welcome back to That Rugby Podcast. Hughes, my friend, it is time and a place. A week out from Rugby World Cup. It is time to make our predictions.
Less than a week, yeah.
Saturday morning, our time.
Yep.
France play the mighty All Blacks in the first game of the Rugby World Cup, and it's time to put our money where our mouths where our money is, our die on the hills we're willing to stand on. You know what I mean? It's time to make our predictions and tell people what's going to happen this tournament. We're going to run through, this is how it's going to happen. We're going to run through pool by pool by pool. So we'll start with pool A, then go pool B, pool C, pool D, run through every game in that pool, where you'll obviously find out who makes it and who doesn't make it from those pools. And then we'll run through the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the final to finish us off. But let's kick us off with pool A. I'm wearing my All Blacks jersey. First game, Saturday, September 9th, France versus New Zealand. Hughesy, what we'll do is you take us through the whole pool and your picks first, and then I'll go through my picks.
Alrighty, so game one, France versus New Zealand. I have got New Zealand winning this game, right? I mean, how could I not? Yes. I think it'll be a really close game, but I trust New Zealand more than I trust France, both in rugby and in politics. So, historically speaking, New Zealand more reliable than France. So, I'm going with the All Blacks. It's hard to pick against the All Blacks in a World Cup in the pool stages. As good as France are, I think New Zealand can beat them. I think New Zealand's got a hell of a squad, and I just trust what they bring to the table more than what I trust France brings to the table.
Excellent.
So that's game one. Game two is Italy versus Namibia. I've got Italy in this one. I don't think that's a shocking call at all. I think Namibia's probably the bottom team in this pool. I don't think that they're going to win a game. If they do, it'll be against Uruguay. Speaking of which, our next game is France versus Uruguay. I got France taking this one. I would say it's probably going to be a lot of France's bench players starting in this one after a pretty physical game against the All Blacks. And the All Blacks then go and play Namibia. I've got the All Blacks taking this one. Again, probably see a lot of All Blacks resting in this one. A lot of bench players coming in after, again, what I think will be a physical confrontation with the French. Italy versus Uruguay. I think this will be a really interesting match. I think this will be an Italian victory, but Uruguay will get a bonus point in this one. I think Uruguay will be within 7 points of Italy. Italy could, if the Italy we know can shows up for this game, they should run rings around Uruguay. However, I don't fully trust Italy. We thought they had a lot of potential in Six Nations this year. They disappointed a little bit in some of their games, but we thought they would show up a bit more. They're very hot and cold. So I'm still sticking with Italy as my pick, but I think Uruguay will do better than expected in this game. France versus Namibia. France, I don't think we need to talk too much about that one. Namibia have had some heroics in the Rugby World Cup before where they've had some victories and had some close games, but I still think France will take this one. Uruguay versus Namibia. I've got Uruguay in this one. And again, though, I think it'll be a close game. Namibia is the minnow of this pool, but Uruguay's not too far above them. New Zealand versus Italy. This will be a spicy matchup. I think Italy will really turn it on for the All Blacks. And this is sort of their first. They start out with a favourable first two games, but then their last two games for Italy become infinitely harder. I think New Zealand will take this one. They're just a bit classier than the Italians are at rugby, not with cooking. New Zealand versus Uruguay. New Zealand gets a really nice break going into the quarterfinals where they can rest a lot of their starters against Uruguay. They might be. I think they won't mind even if they lose this game, and then thus they're second in their pool. I think their quarterfinals matchup is going to be difficult either way. I don't think they particularly mind if they come first or second in this pool. Even though they've beaten France, France might get, they might go through on bonus points. There's a whole lot of mathematics that can come through here. So I think New Zealand will rest a lot of players for Uruguay, and they won't mind if they drop this game by playing a lot of their reserves. That being said, I don't think they will drop this game. I'm still picking New Zealand, but I think they'll definitely be looking to the next week when they come to this game. Then France versus Italy. I think France they'll be advancing through to the next round for sure. I think though that they will, again similar to New Zealand, probably rest a lot of players for this one. This is a potential for a trap game here, and if Italy surprise the French in this game, France could go out before the quarterfinals, which I believe is something you predicted as your spicy pick in our last podcast. But I think it is going to be France that take this one, and it will be. But it will be. I think Italy will shock them in terms of how close this game will be.
Alrighty, so you've got New Zealand top in the pool, France second.
My pool standings are New Zealand, France, Italy, Uruguay, Namibia.
Nice. Okay, so I will start with mine. New Zealand versus France this Saturday. New Zealand yet to lose a pool game in Rugby World Cup history. Never lost a pool game. They ain't starting against the French, so we get up over the French. But again, it's going to be a tight game, and this is. If France are to win this game, my predictions then go out the door because it doesn't really matter what I say for the rest. Because if you'd listened to the last podcast, you'll know why. Italy versus Namibia. I like what you said. Italy gets up over Namibia. France versus Uruguay. France beat Uruguay. I think Uruguay are a team. They famous win against Fiji at the last World Cup. I think they're a team that could surprise, like you've said, I think, and even against the All Blacks. I don't think they touch the All Blacks, but I think definitely Italy, definitely even France. I think, no, not even France. I shouldn't say France. That's disrespectful. But if I'm gonna write them off against the All Blacks, I probably have to write them off against France. But definitely Italy. You could have a shot there. What game did I just say about? Was
France and Uruguay. So now you're on to New Zealand and Namibia.
New Zealand and Namibia. New Zealand win that. Then Italy, Uruguay. We were just talking about that. I still think Italy are a class above at the moment, the way they're playing. Yep. France versus Namibia. France beat Namibia. So we're rocking and rolling. Uruguay versus Namibia. Uruguay beats Namibia. I think they're a class above Namibia. As we've just said, Italy is a class above Uruguay. I think Uruguay is a class above Namibia. New Zealand beat Italy. I do think this is a bit closer. After the New Zealand win against the French, like you said, I think New Zealand I still think we see a top New Zealand team. I just think they're more worried about how they're playing rather than the result. So I think this one will be closer. New Zealand then have to back it up 7 days later against Uruguay. And I would say, like you said, I don't think they're going to...
6 days later.
6 days later. Like you said, I don't think Uruguay will touch New Zealand, but if the line, if you're a betting man, I would be looking at Uruguay by the line because I don't think it'll be as big a win as many think. Then we get to our final game, which is where the cookie's ready to crumble because the pressure's now on France. France and Italy both have one loss up until this point. Let's say Italy's done the unthinkable and managed to pick up a bonus point against the All Blacks. We're now talking about winner of this game advances. France lose, they go home. Now, the Italians pushed the French the last time they played in the Six Nations. I think it was like 21-26. Check their own results, but I think it was something like that.
I'm checking the results now. I'll get this to you now and back up what you're saying. You keep going though.
And then I'm pretty sure the last time Italy played in France, I don't know if that game was in France. I think it may have been in Italy. It was another close game. The Italians, to me, they're in and around the French's number, and they're waiting for the perfect time to strike. I think they strike on Saturday, October 7th, people, or it's local time, October 6th. Have it penciled in your calendar to watch Italy knock France out of the Rugby World Cup 2023.
All right. So, result, last time Italy played France in the Six Nations, round one, it was 29-24 France.
That was in France, was that correct?
That was... Have a look here. I'm just pulling up the stats. No, that was in Italy, I believe.
Okay. And then I want to know when the last time Italy and France played each other in France, what the result was.
Yeah.
But
look, I have stats. I'm not that good with stats.
You know what? I'll do it myself. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to bring this up because I think it was close again. I have a funny feeling that Italy pushed France in France the last time they played in France. But I'm gonna see. So that was at home. Let's go 2022.
Okay, here we go. History of rugby union matches between Italy and France.
And I might be talking out my ass, but no, they didn't. 37-10.
France,
We'll ignore that.
37-10.
So I'm pulling this off the last game. All right, I'm pulling it off the last game. The last time they played, what was it, a 5-point difference? Yep. Italy can do this. The way they've warmed up, the way they've prepared for this World Cup, the big win they just had over Japan. I look at this Italian team and I go, they can do this and they're going to do it. See you later, France. Knocked out at their own World Cup. Pool A. Just like that, wrapped up. Let's move on to Pool B. I will start us off with Pool B. Alrighty. So, arguably the pool of death. A very interesting pool. Ireland, Romania, South Africa, Scotland, Tonga. I'm going to start off first game, Ireland and Romania. Ireland, get off easy. Play Romania. Spank Romania. Absolutely spank them. Second game is South Africa versus Scotland. Hold your breath to all my South African supporters out there because the Scottish are going to beat the South Africans. It's going to happen. Wow. I see Scotland doing really, really well at this World Cup, and I think they beat the South Africans, shock them in the pool stage. It's not to say that South Africa's going out yet. I think South Africa get a bit of a wake-up call like they did against New Zealand at the last World Cup. Still a very good chance for them to win. We then move on to Ireland getting Tonga in Tonga's first game. I think Ireland's lucky that they had Romania first up and it wasn't a big challenge. I think they come out and they beat Tonga. I'm nervous to say a numbered result because I think Tonga have the potential to keep it close, and the closer they keep it, the more nervous I'd get as an Irishman. Because if it's a close game, Tonga can definitely steal that one. We saw them in 2011. Tonga, probably with less talent, still a famous win against the French in that World Cup. So it wouldn't surprise me for Tonga. South Africa bounced back big time against Romania. Romania sitting ducks in this pool, unfortunately. South Africa then, though, have a 6-day turnaround to play Ireland, who I think have probably prepped themselves a little bit against Romania, tidied some things up against Tonga, and now South Africa are in a must-win game already. Mm-hmm. Only 3 games into the pool. They lose to Ireland. They're out of the Rugby World Cup. South Africa's gone. The French are gone. It's all happening. So the Irish beat South Africa. Scotland then played Tonga. Scotland beat Tonga. They've had their big break since they played South Africa. It's really worked out well, this draw. If Scotland beat South Africa, I really think Scotland are making it through. Scotland then have their 6-day turnaround, which is against Romania. Great draw to be in for them again. They get the win against Romania. South Africa then get a consolation win against Tonga because it isn't going to mean anything. Ireland plays Scotland to decide who's going to be top of the pool. Ireland beat Scotland, go top of the pool. Tonga beat Romania. So we see Ireland, Scotland, South Africa, Tonga, Romania in Pool B. You heard it here first. South Africa, not back-to-back champs. You're out. You know, maybe this is a revenge for making us suffer our worst ever defeat at Twickenham before the World Cup. Maybe it is. I am probably going to end up with egg on my face. I'm willing to accept that. But I've got one hill. I was dying on the French hill. I've jumped across to the other hill. And I'm dying on this hill. I'm dying on a couple of hills for these big teams getting knocked out.
All right. Well, look, bold predictions. I'll say that for sure. Let's go through my predictions for Pool B now. Ireland versus Romania. Don't need to spend much time on this one. Ireland will take the win here. South Africa versus Scotland. I also have Scotland winning this one. Ooh. I also have Scotland beating South Africa here. I think Scotland hot at the right time to take a game from South Africa. Ireland versus Tonga. Ireland will take this one. Some bumps and bruises along the way, but they should win this one. South Africa versus Romania. Sorry, any Romanians listening. South Africa's going to run through you like I don't even know what. Something big hitting something fragile, right? South Africa versus Ireland. South Africa wins this game. South Africa beats Ireland.
Ooh.
South Africa beats Ireland. Yeah. I think South Africa is not a team to drop 2 games in a pool. I can't see that happening with this team. I just can't see it happening with this team. I think they get ambushed game 1 by Scotland. And then I think they turn it up for Ireland and they prove that they are the better team with green on their jersey. Scotland versus Tonga, a physical matchup. Scotland take this one though. Scotland versus Romania, backing it up 6 days later. They take it from Romania. South Africa versus Tonga, another hard-hitting game, but I think South Africa takes this one. Ireland versus Scotland. Ireland wins this game. And then Tonga versus Romania, Tonga wins. So what I have happening for my pool, so you might be thinking, Husey, how does this work? Scotland beats South Africa. South Africa beats Ireland. Ireland beats Scotland. Who goes through? Scotland misses out. Bonus points make all the difference here. And Ireland and South Africa get the bonus points, with Ireland finishing on top of the pool over South Africa. So my pool B is Ireland, South Africa, Scotland, Tonga, and Romania. And Scotland, in a heartbreaker, miss out on the quarterfinals.
Wow. I'm not even against that. I love that idea. This is the pool of death. This is what it's built out to be.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit if what happens is what you've just said. That this pool's going to be so interesting. It's down to that first game. I think if Scotland can do the box, it's all on in this pool. Like, this pool will just be electric.
Anything can happen.
Shall we jump on to the blind man in a dark room and pool C, my friend?
Knives out, Daniel Craig style. Let's go. Pool C. All right, I'll kick us off with Pool C. All right. Pool C, Australia versus Georgia. Australia wins. First win of 2023. Australia takes it and takes it comfortably. I'm going to say. And everyone starts looking at the Wallabies. Wales versus Fiji. Fiji wins. Fiji takes first blood in their run at the Rugby World Cup. Wales versus Portugal. Wales come out and steamroll Portugal. They're frustrated. They know that they needed to win that game against Fiji, and they didn't do it. So they take it out on the hapless Portuguese, who are consoled by some very tasty chicken burgers. Australia versus Fiji. This is the game of Pool C. Australia, though, wins this game because they have the flying Fijian Marika Korobete, and he will score some spectacular tries in this game to essentially seal the pool for Australia. Georgia versus Portugal. Georgia comes out and has a fantastic game, and they will beat the Portuguese. Wales versus Australia. The hopes and dreams of the Welsh, frail though they may be, given they live in a damp and dreary country, are shattered once more by the Wallabies, who are on a roll by this stage, who are just looking like world beaters, who are looking fantastic. Fiji versus Georgia. This will be one of the closest games of the pool. I think this will be even better than Fiji versus Wales, and I think Fiji will take it in a tight one. I think it'll be less than a try score differential. Australia versus Portugal. They're sitting pretty. They've got the pool where they want it. I think they rest a lot of players, and they get themselves a good break ahead of the quarterfinals, because they have the last week of this pool off. They rest their players, and they take care of business against the Portuguese. Wales versus Georgia. I have Wales winning this one, although, again, I believe it will be very tight. And then Fiji round out the pool by beating Portugal and thus coming second in the pool. So I have Australia, Fiji, Georgia, Wales, Portugal. Oh, sorry, Wales, Georgia, Portugal.
Oh, yeah. So Wales finished third.
Wales finished third, Georgia finished fourth.
Nice. Yep, back in your Aussies, you've got to do that.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to start off Pool C, the blind leading the blind here. I think Australia get the job done against Georgia. I don't think it's as convincing as you say it is. I think it's they got to win. They got to win. It wasn't pretty. It was one of those 31-17, 31-21 wins where you gutted it out and you showed some courage and heart. And what we needed to see from this Aussie team, I don't think it's as convincing as you may have said it. But saying that, it's a win's a win. A win is a win in the Rugby World Cup.
Win's a win.
And talking about a win being a win, Fiji versus Wales. Fiji pick up a famous win, throwback to 2007, I believe it was, where Wales last lost to Fiji at a Rugby World Cup. Actually, they may have done it in 2015 as well. I don't know. But I know they definitely lost in 2007. So Fiji get the win there. Like you said, Wales back it up against Portugal and beat Portugal. Australia then faced Fiji. Now, Australia, the dust has settled. They've finally got a win. Wasn't convincing. I think Fiji have a convincing win against Wales, and I think Fiji, 7 days later, does the unthinkable and beats Australia. And
Can't believe it.
Yep. Australia lose to Fiji on the 17th of September local time. We then see Georgia beat Portugal. I think Portugal are the Romania of this pool. Wales and Australia now have it all to play for because, hey, we've both lost to Fiji, both backs against the wall, and I think this is where we see the true green and gold courage come alive. I think Aussie finally get the performance they've been looking for, and they put Wales to the sword. I'm thinking like a 40-5 win. Just an absolute dominant performance. Fiji then ticks the box against Georgia. This is one where I'm really not confident. I think Fiji and Georgia both play a very similar style. Georgia, I really like the look of this Georgian team, and it wouldn't surprise me if they really pushed you guys a long way in that first game. We then see Australia dominate Portugal. Again, Portugal being the battering rams. Wales and Georgia, doesn't really matter, but I have Georgia winning. So Wales finish fourth and Fiji wrap it up against Portugal. So I was
really tossing up that Welsh-Georgia game as well.
Totally. Georgia's the team there that I'm like, I'm only picking them to beat Wales and Portugal. But if there's a team that could beat either Fiji or Australia as well, Wales could do it too. This is, what am I talking about? I've closed my eyes and I've just chucked a dart at a dartboard and hope for the best. Yeah. But I've gone Fiji, the Wallabies, Georgia, Wales, Portugal is my pool C.
Look, I would say it's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous, but I fundamentally disagree.
Yeah, I get that. You have to. That's like, someone said, like, if you told me Italy was going to win our pool, I'd be like, you're a fucking idiot. But I will say, if I had said this 6 months ago, you could have put me in an insane asylum. This has only happened in the past 6 months with what Fiji has done. And I actually saw on another podcast, Sealy Talk Sport and James Marshall, who does, don't even know what the podcast he does is, but What a Lad. There we go. We're talking about this, and it's really interesting to see the rise of Fiji and even Samoa and Tonga. And I know the eligibility laws have changed, but Japan no longer in Super Rugby. Japan has benefited, obviously, from players choosing to play in Japanese rugby and then having eligibility changes, that it seems like the rest of the Pacific nations have started to catch up with what Japan was doing and now able to do it and just about do it better. So I did think, I was like, I'm picking Fiji to win a pool. That's a pretty big pick. Pool D, let me run us through this. England versus Argentina. What a game to kick off this pool, I must say. England in the dumps. Argentina wins game one of this pool. A massive game for Argentina to win. Japan get lucky, start off easy against Chile. They beat Chile. Samoa gets even luckier because they get Chile on the 6-day turnaround. Samoa thumps Chile. And I think Chile's going to be a bit better than many people expect. I think they'll push some teams. I think they will push Japan in that first game. I think it's one of those, South American pride things where we'll see the same with Uruguay. We've talked about them. They'll just be passionate. We then move on to England versus Japan. I'm not too worried. If I'm English, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is your breather game. You lost against Argentina. You need to win this to have a breather. You win against Japan. Japan haven't looked like the same team that they were 4 years ago or even 8 years ago. Argentina versus Samoa. Wow, a couple of passionate teams going at it. I think Argentina gets the win. I'm not confident. If Lima Sopawanga plays to his ability, could be a Samoan win here. England do the dirty on Chile, beat them. Japan versus Samoa. Samoa bounces back after that loss to Argentina. Beat Japan. I think beat them comfortably. Argentina beat Chile. So Argentina undefeated so far. And then we come to the big 4 games, I would say, which we've got England and Samoa are battling it out for second place in the pool. This will decide who goes through to the quarterfinals. Samoa does the unthinkable. Samoa does the unthinkable. Not only are we losing France, not only are we losing South Africa, we lose England in the pool stages in what is the most famous Rugby World Cup pool stages ever. You won't even beat it in the future. So Samoa knock out England, Argentina take care of Japan. So I go Argentina, Samoa, England, Japan, Chile.
Wow. Very, very bold pull. Bold pull indeed. I've got for Pool D, not quite the same. Not quite. England versus Argentina. Again, as you said, hell of a game to kick us off here. I think England will do better than what people expected, but I think Argentina will pull out this win, but it'll be a close one. Japan versus Chile. It's funny that you said Chile will push Japan. I have Chile winning this, their first ever game at a Rugby World Cup. I think Japan are ripe for an ambush, and I think Chile will take advantage of it and will take down the Japanese. However, they will then get steamrolled by Samoa the next game, and they'll crash back down to earth. England versus Japan. I have England taking this one. I actually have Japan not winning a single game in this pool.
Wow.
England beats Japan. Argentina versus Samoa. I think Argentina take care of business. I think they're primed for a good run at this World Cup, but I think Samoa will push them, as you said. England versus Chile. England take care of business. Samoa versus Japan. Samoa. And I think Samoa takes this one comfortably. Argentina versus Chile. Battle of the Americas. I think South American rivalry and pride comes through here. I think it's a close game, but Argentina wins it. England versus Samoa. I think England, they're a prideful bunch as well. Queen Elizabeth, she's passed away, a year on from her death, because believe she died in September last year. They'll be thinking of Lizzie, inspired by Lizzie. They'll take out Samoa here and finish up second in the pool, and Argentina cap off Pool D undefeated run by beating Japan. So my Pool D is Argentina, England, Samoa, Chile, and Japan.
Wow. Alrighty, still thinks England are going to make it through. Okay, so let's run through our pools again. We'll just run through where we've got everyone. Then we'll go into the quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, run through those games. So in my Pool A, I have New Zealand, Italy, France, Uruguay, Namibia. Pool B, I have Ireland, Scotland, South Africa, Tonga, Romania. Pool C, I have Fiji, Australia, Georgia, Wales, Portugal. And Pool D, Argentina, Samoa, England, Japan, Chile.
Some bold predictions in there for sure. For all of South Africa, France, and England not to make it, I think is pretty bold. I have Pool A, New Zealand first, France second, then Italy, Uruguay, Namibia. Pool B, Ireland first, South Africa second, Scotland third, although all of them go 4-1 in the pool stage, then Tonga and Romania. Group C, Australia undefeated, Fiji, Wales, Georgia, Portugal. Group D, Argentina undefeated, England, Samoa, Chile, and Japan.
Alrighty, quarterfinals time.
Yeah.
Hughesy, let's run us through your quarterfinals.
Okay, so my quarterfinal matchups are Australia versus England, Ireland versus France, Argentina versus Fiji, and New Zealand versus South Africa. First match of the quarterfinals would be Australia versus England. Australia takes it. Eddie Jones's revenge tour is complete. He Master versus Apprentice, Jones versus Borthwick, takes care of business. England, not to make it to another World Cup final. Ireland versus France. In an upset, France take it. France take it because they're playing in France. They get up for the home crowd.
The quarterfinal curse continues for Ireland, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Argentina versus Fiji. Really great game. Cracker game. But I think Argentina takes this one. And then New Zealand versus Africa. New Zealand doesn't lose to teams twice in a row. They don't lose to teams twice in a row. They beat South Africa. Especially after the biggest loss in All Blacks history. You're going to tell me no one could convince me that the All Blacks won't be so fired up for this game, even more so than they usually are when they play the box. They will win this one. And Ian Foster, his legacy will continue to grow as the most underappreciated coach in All Blacks history.
Yeah, I love those quarterfinal matchups, mate. I must say, your matchups look a little bit more enticing. Mine look a little bit more like I should be in a mental institute. So match 41, quarterfinal 1, Fiji versus Samoa. I then have Ireland versus Italy. I have Argentina versus Australia and New Zealand versus Scotland as my 4 quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Winner of Fiji versus Samoa and making their first ever semi-final in the Rugby World Cup, Fiji. I think they're too powerful for their Samoan brethren. Match 42 is Ireland versus Italy. Ireland too strong for the Italian flair. Argentina versus Australia. Australia still feel that loss that hit them in Parramatta Stadium.
The loss that shouldn't have been a loss.
And they do the Uno reverse and they get the win in a quarter-final. New Zealand beat Scotland in the other quarter-final. What more do I have to say? It's a Rugby World Cup. Here come the All Blacks onto the semi-finals, my friends. So my semi-finals look like Fiji versus Ireland and the Wallabies versus the old foes, the All Blacks. Game 1, Ireland in the fairy tale that is the Fijians and make a final, break the hoodoo of the quarterfinal and go all the way through to the final. The Wallabies versus the All Blacks, it's already done, bud. There's no chance you're touching us. The All Blacks are through to a Rugby World Cup final in 2023. Come on!
Who could have seen that coming? All right, my semi-finals are Australia versus France and Argentina versus New Zealand. Right, I think Australia will breathe a sigh of relief. That France beat Ireland in that quarterfinal match, because I think, as you said last week, they feel like they probably match up better against France when they're at full strength. I think Australia takes this one against France in a narrow victory. Then we have Argentina versus New Zealand. Look, it's going to be a close game, but I have New Zealand by 3 points or less against Argentina in the semi-final. And then we get
All Blacks making the final.
Well, yeah, we have a final of, what better final could you ask for than Australia versus New Zealand?
Yeah, I couldn't argue that point. Do you want to take us through how your final is going to look then, my friend? We know it's Aussie.
Absolutely.
Give us the 80-minute rundown in 2 minutes.
Okay. Eddie Jones pulls off one of the all-time World Cup heists. Nobody's looking at Australia as any kind of threat here. You said it before yourself when you had this semi-final match. Oh, it's already done. That's New Zealand's attitude here. It's already done. It's Australia. We always beat Australia. Not so in the final, my friend. Australia, they're on 2 World Cup victories. That's not enough for the New Zealand's lording over the Bledisloe. Them and South Africa with their 3 World Cup wins. Well, you know what? Australia joins the party here. Max Jorgensen coming in for an injured Andrew Kellaway, who gets injured in the semi-final. His second ever World Cup match. He plays 1 game in the pool stages, but his second ever World Cup game leads Australia to victory over New Zealand in the grand final. That's all there is to it. That's all I need to say.
And I thought I had to go to a mental health institute, but maybe it is you, my friend, after what I've just heard. Look, dreams are free, and that's lucky for you. So let's run you through what's actually going to happen in the final. We've got Ireland against the All Blacks. The Irish come out, they know what they did to the All Blacks on All Blacks turf not many moons ago. And the All Blacks come up and they go, this is our time. The Irish think it's their time. They got Farrell as their coach. Sexton's last game probably in the green jersey. It's their time. They start off strong. 20 minutes, the Irish are over the New Zealanders. They're holding on, the All Blacks, they're holding on. It's a close game. Ireland have kicked 2 penalties. It's 6-0. And then the All Blacks break free through Will Jordan, who sets up Rieko Ioane to score to make it 7-6 in the 26 minutes. We go into the sheds. It is 9-7 to the Irish. It's a close game. It's defensive. It's tactical. Ian Foster goes in at halftime and gives one of the greatest halftime speeches an All Blacks coach has ever given. He goes, you know what? Fuck Steve Hansen. fuck the Wallabies, fuck the Irish. And we go out there and rort them in the second half, and we bring the trophy home 29-9. The All Blacks win the Rugby World Cup. It's coming home, baby. The Rugby World Cup. Put it on a plane now. Send it back to New Zealand. I'm ready for
Right. Okay. God, boring.
it.
Okay.
There it is. Our predictions. As crazy as they may seem, I have the All Blacks winning. Hughesy has the Wallabies winning. Were we ever surprised at the start of this that was going to be the result?
I don't
Probably
think
not.
so. Absolutely not. If
there
we had
are-
predicted anything differently, I would have been so
bit
disappointed.
Yeah, imagine if I had chucked a change of script in there and said the Irish were going to be the All Blacks. How
I
disgusting
know,
that
but
would be.
I would have admired you. I would have admired you for doing that.
Yeah, I'm not that big of a man, unfortunately.
No.
I'm not going to lie. You got to know what you are, and I'm an All Black supporter, and I'm one of the ones you think of when you go those fucking All Black supporters. Yeah, that's me. That is who I am. But we have made some big calls. Obviously, I think your probably biggest call is Japan finishing last in the pool, with Fiji making it into the quarterfinals at least, knocking out Wales and Georgia. I've gone with France, South Africa, England all being knocked out, and Fiji to top their pool. But it's been one hell of a past 6 months leading up to this World Cup. It's probably the most excited I've been for a World Cup. And it's weird. It's weird to say because normally I'm excited for World Cups because I'm pretty confident New Zealand are going to win. As confident as I am New Zealand are going to win, there's about 8 teams, I think, that could theoretically sit there and point out their journey to a trophy. And if we're looking at like someone like a Wales, who both of us have said are not making it out of the pool, say they do make it out of the pool and say they do upset someone in the quarters and all of a sudden they do it in the semis as well, you know, it's one of those tournaments there I think we'll look back and just see the upsets, we'll see the game winners. I just think as much as we've predicted the tournament here, I don't think you can predict this tournament and what's going to happen. So, saying all of that, make sure you stay tuned with us. Subscribe to us on our YouTube and on Spotify and wherever you listen to these podcasts / watch them. Make sure you're up to date with us on our Instagram and staying tuned as we bring you all the action from the Rugby World Cup. Any final words from my friend Hughesy?
Go the Wallabies.
You're hoping that you come out of that dark room as blind, stabbing the sword, and that everyone else has just killed themselves, and that you are the last one that remains?
Scars are stronger than raw flesh, my friend. We'll come out of the group scarred, but better for it.
There you go. There he is. The ever so hopeful Wallabies fan and the ever so arrogant All Blacks fan combining to make one hell of a podcast. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll see you again next week. For now, goodbye. Thank you for joining us.
Peace.